Today is our Amanda's birthday, 18 years old. She was looking forward to celebrating with her brother because she had agreed in advance to go somewhere with him. I wanted to celebrate with my friends later. She had relatives in the first place. Amanda had been constantly clinging to Richard since childhood, sometimes with games, sometimes with homework, which he always did for her. Joint walks, mutual assistance, and difficult moments, hence the emotional closeness. Perhaps Amanda was even too annoying. When other girls approached Richard to meet her, she gave them such a disapproving look that they immediately backed away. "Well, you can still become my wife. You don't move a step away." Amanda looked at her brother with a displeased look, "But I'll take it and fix it." And she was the first to run into the house after another walk after school. Several years have passed since then. Amanda grew up cheerful, maybe a little frivolous, but without extremes. Shoulder-length blonde hair and bottomless blue eyes. Any man's dream, of course, except for his brother. Besides, the restless little sister was sweet and charming. Sometimes it was her fault that his parents scolded him, but I tried to protect her. Therefore, the broken vase, the cat brought from the street, and even the computer virus that deleted her mother's unfinished novel, on which she worked so hard, were not his fault. Amanda studied well, of course, not without Richard's help. A favorite of teachers and the object of romantic glances from guys. The queen of the school? Maybe, but she didn't think much about her status among her classmates. It was enough for her that she had good friends, academic achievements, and a loving family. Since her brother entered the university, the girl has been going home a little sad for the last couple of years because they used to go together. Remembering how Richard had carried her home on his back. The wait for graduation lasted forever for Amanda. She wanted to go to the same university as her brother. There was no limit to joy when, in their first year, they went to school together again in the morning and could see each other already at the university. A few more months have passed. Richard was waiting for his sister in the lobby of the university. "And where should we go first? What is it?" he asked in a carefree voice. "First to the amusement park, then to the cinema, then to the embankment, and then to the aquarium, then to the park on the pike. Embankment, and then slow down. Are there great plans to conquer our city again? We definitely won't have time to go everywhere." Amanda pouted and poked her brother in the side with her finger. "If you don't grumble like an old grandfather, we'll make it. Let's go." But Richard remembered her previous birthdays, so he was calm. After all, about halfway through her planned adventures, Amanda got tired and asked to go home herself. Soon they both found themselves in an amusement, rides, cotton candy, and cheery cries of children. It even seemed to Richard that his sister had not grown at all. "It seems like it's been 18 years, but I haven't gotten off the BA-controlled cars for a long time." They jumped on trampolines together. It seemed that the trampoline did not just exhaust her sister, but even gave her strength with each jump. Well, just like about child, he thought to himself. After jumping around a lot, both of them finally ran out of steam and went to the upholstered chairs of the cinema, standardly equipped with popcorn. But she found the film itself rather boring. "But well, what are you doing?" Richard whispered. "I'm tired. I want to sleep. I ate and slept. That's the place I chose. You can sleep at home. There's no bed here." Slightly dumbfounded, Richard tried to drag the sleepy sister to her place, but she mumbled in displeasure, hinting that it was better not to argue. Oh my God, he had no choice but to accept it. "Sweet dreams," he said reproachfully at last. The movie was really boring. Even Richard watched with half-closed eyes, occasionally glancing at the audience. If anyone is looking at them, at least before, he definitely had not seen couples who were openly sleeping in the same chair in the cinema. But the magic of longing emanating from the screen and speakers made the rest of the visitors fall asleep, so they didn't even pay attention to the guys. The sister's sniffling made itself felt. "Just don't snore," Richard thought with a grin. He looked at her. Finally, the movie ended. The guy himself was already dosing peacefully by the end, so he did not hear the noise of the dull, dispersing crowd. One of the spectators shook both of them by the shoulders. "Hey, get up." The man who woke the couple grinned. "Well, where else?" Richard asked, but he was already hoping to go home. Amanda rubbed her eyes. "I remembered. An interesting bar with foreign cuisine has opened nearby. I want to go." Are you thinking of getting drunk? Why get drunk right away? And anyway, I can already. My brother did not try to dissuade me. Thinking that alcohol might cheer them up, they headed to the coveted bar, which turned out to be Japanese style and with karaoke. 10 minutes later, Amanda and Richard were eating sushi, Japanese omelets, and other edible riches according to the recipes of the land of the rising sun. No juices or tea, only alcohol, and only in acceptable quantities. But this amount was enough for Amanda for incendiary karaoke songs. Well fed, cheerful, and satisfied, the brother and sister came out of the booth, and Amanda immediately noticed one guy. It was James, her classmate. He and Richard shook hands. An unexpected meeting. I see that she does not lag behind you in life at all, where you do not meet one. There will be a second one next to you. James greeted the guys with a slight laugh. It's good to see you too, Richard replied, embarrassed. After all, he understood that Amanda's classmate was telling the truth. At school, the guys talked and got along well with each other. James has never been short of money. He even periodically supplied the class with all sorts of learning elements. Amanda remembered his dad buying their class a projector. I see you both have already had a great rest. Do you need any help? Help? Can I give you a ride? I recently passed my license and my parents gave me the car. I remember you don't live close. Richard liked the offer, but it was definitely not worth showing up in front of his parents. Like that. After all, he will be the only one to blame again. No, it's not an option. Mom and Dad are there. And where will you go then? Really, where to? Time was running out in the evening, and it was necessary to declare yourself at home. The guys looked at each other, looking for a solution in each other's bed, but nothing came to mind. But there was no money for a hotel. Okay, let's do this. You'll spend the night at my place. I live alone, but there is a place for you. You will tell your parents that you decided to stay with Amanda's friend. They still don't know her friend's number. The girl smiled and looked approvingly at her brother, who was rather surprised. And the apartment is already yours? There was no choice, and the guys agreed. In the car, James talked about graduating from high school, going to university, old friends. He even said that the guys in Amanda's class really thought she was the queen of the school. But the back seats wanted to go to bed as soon as possible. Hey, Queen, what about the aquarium? The embankment. And where else would you like to go? The Queen is no longer receiving today. We'll decide everything tomorrow. Amanda babbled in her delirium with a satisfied smile. You obviously need a bed and a good night's sleep. Richard laughed. 20 minutes later, they were at James's, a well-maintained apartment with a fresh renovation and a pleasant-looking interior. Wow, it's great here, she said briskly and sat down on the bed, and after a couple of seconds, she lay down. You've settled in well here. Yeah, make yourself at home. James looked at Amanda and grinned. She has clearly found her place. The guys in the kitchen watched TV, late into the evening, and chatted about everything they've retrank. Remember, by calling your parents beforehand. At some point, Amanda came into the kitchen, and James treated the guys to tea with sweets. I'm sorry that we're so sudden. Come on, I suggested it myself. It was getting late and I had to go to bed. James offered them his bed, which was a single bed. But the guests were too shy to deprive the owner of the apartment of a legitimate place to sleep, even for one night. It then let me make you a spare mattress. He took out a traditional Japanese mattress from the closet and spread it on the floor. I put pillows and a light blanket on top. When the guys looked at him questioningly, he replied, I had a vacation in Japan with my parents last summer. They brought it as a souvenir. We even felt that it would come in handy someday. As you can see, you did not lose. I see you like the kitchen there too. Yes, that's why I was in that bar. The food there is not exactly the same as in Tokyo, but it is similar, and it's also delicious. The guys were getting ready for bed. If you want, you can take a shower. No, thank you. The relatives said in one voice, an embarrassment. Well, look, the nights are hot now. I won't open the window. At night, you just won't fall asleep. Yes, still, there was one drawback in these beautiful mansions, being near the highway. It's okay. The very possibility of spending the night somewhere is enough for us. No problem. By the way, the tea you drink is also from Japan. It is soothing and helps you fall asleep faster. Richard and Amanda smiled gratefully. You're lucky to have a classmate, Richard whispered in his sister's ear. She was a little embarrassed, feeling some guilt that she had not really communicated with him before. After all, there were no reasons. Everyone laid down in their places. Not to say that Richard was uncomfortable sleeping with his sister on the same mattress. It was as if he felt the wrongness of the situation. At home, they have a common room, but different beds. The night turned out to be seriously stuffy. The blanket was lying to the side. You could boil yourself alive under it. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, Richard woke, from an incomprehensible stirring. It took him a moment to notice that his sister wasn't lying. Next to him, it was lying in its place, the dress. The guy looked around listlessly. James was sleeping peacefully, wrapped in a blanket. And how is he not hot? Richard got up, sleepily and quietly went in search of Amanda. She was standing in the kitchen and drinking something. "What are you doing here?" Richard asked quietly from the shadows. Amanda was a little scared. "Huh? Phew, don't scare me like that. I just got up to drink." Amanda continued to drink the water, ignoring her brother. In the end, Amanda looked up from her glass and walked back with a languid look. Her brother stood in her way, who was a little confused and asked a stupid question. "Where are you going?" Amanda looked at Richard in disbelief. "Sleep. Where else?" He stood motionless and looked at his sister. A strange but not repulsive fragrance emanated from the girl. One might say, one that any healthy man would like. "Hey, did you fall asleep or something?" Amanda laughed. These words brought Richard out of his stupor, and he shyly looked away, saying, "Let's go to bed." Amanda smiled at her brother's back as they walked back. For a while, the guy pondered over his sister's strange behavior. The smell, her breath, and an incomprehensible swagger. Is she not shy of him, or is there something wrong? Maybe she just didn't sober up. She drank a little, but still, for the first time. Despite the surroundings, fatigue overcame his brother, and he fell asleep. At about 4 o'clock, something woke Richard up. Again, deciding to pretend to be asleep, but to find out what was going on, he turned his head slightly and looked down. "Are you all right?" Amanda looked up with lightning speed. There was a mixture of resentment and shame on her face. "But well, what's wrong with you?" She shyly lowered her head and looked down. I woke up covered in sweat, and the sister was silent for a long time. Canned, and it only got hotter. She paused again. The conversation reached a dead end. The girl did not understand what was happening. More precisely, she understood what exactly, but could not understand the reason. And Richard even more so. "Help me." Amanda made an unexpected request. "With what?" he asked with a silly smile. His sister looked at him with a serious look. "That's a stupid question. And what kind of requests are these?" They began to make love while James was sleeping in the next room. But 5 minutes later, a sound was heard nearby. James woke up. "I see you're having fun." Amanda was scared. "Richard, they're looking at us. Don't think about it." Amanda didn't know who to turn to. James continued to watch, as if this performance had been staged especially for him. After observing, James decided to join. Amanda and Richard were not against such an act. After the incident, all three slept peacefully. James returned to his bed. "It's time to get up." The guys silently washed their faces and got ready to leave. Amanda tried not to look the boys in the eye. "Maybe you should take a shower this time," James asked with a smirk on his face. Finally, everyone gathered and James took the guys home. As they got out of the car, Richard said goodbye to his sister's classmate. As they approached the house, Amanda turned towards James, who was looking after them, smiled, and waved goodbye to him, lightly. After all that happened, Amanda and James never saw each other again. And with Richard, they often did what they could afford that day.